dispatcher refuses to send van in for maintenance. Gets forced to change my tire while I enjoy dinner on company time. Hey all. So this is my first story on here that is squarely just a revenge. I honestly think it's a bit more pro than petty, but not really critical enough to go full nuclear, so here I am. This story is one of how a lowly delivery driver got to royally irk a dispatcher, waste his time, get 4 hours of overtime, meal paid for, and a free beer. TL, Dr. Below for your pleasure. So I was a driver for a little company that rhymes with Amazon. I had been there for several months by this point and had developed a reputation of being very anal about vehicle maintenance. We aren't talking like washing them or whatnot, but cleaning out urine bottles, fixing broken wiper blades, installing lights to replace the burnt out ones, or other stuff that would indicate you actually remotely care for your driver's well-being. Seriously guys, I had a van once with no working lights of any kind, and the passenger side door fell off its hinges right in front of my dispatchers, and they still sent me out. Needless to say, some trips were better than others, but this particular time, well, it was a doozy. You see, friends, I was considered a problem driver by some for being obsessed with vehicles being kept road legal. I had not caused any issues other than this. We had dispatchers that were promoted up after a month, and after hitting mailboxes, cars, and other kinds of insanity, but I was always skipped over. This naturally irked me to no end, and I was looking for better within 6 months of starting. I was there for nearly 2 years. Naturally, all my requests for the essential equipment and urine bottle removal was denied, so I'd buy bulbs for my van and pull them out after my route was done, so I could put them into the next one the next day, and I chucked piss bottles out on the record. Kinda gross, but better than smelling it in the hot Georgia sun in the middle of summer in a van with sometimes working ack. This nonsense continued for the entirety of my time there, of course. This event however was the first of many times I decided to get back at the dispatchers for messing with my routes and giving me the worst vans, and so on. You see, this van had the lights that were bad. Broken ack. Shook like mad. Squeaked. Smelled like piss and musty taco farts. Door didn't properly lock so anybody could have stole packages from it, and not much could be done. And to top this all off, 4 bad tires. Like, metal bands exposed and one bulging out in its death throes. The whole day, I babied this van as best I could. Putting air in the tire a few times, and just barely finished my route with some daylight to spare. So, 10 hours on the road down, and an hour and a half back to the distribution center. I get underway and get about halfway before I felt a telltale shake of a tire going out. Well shit, here we go. I say to myself and scan my surroundings. I'm on the interstate and not very far from an off-ramp. So with what little tire I have left, I limp off the ramp and to a parking lot which is right next to an Applebee's. Perfect luck, all things considered. I call dispatch and give my exact location and tell them what happened. The conversation goes as thus. Me Chucket Bucket 007. Hello, again guys. Dipfuck dipshit dispatcher, that's it. Me hey, I got a flat over here at my location. Dipfuck what? How? Me because you sent me out in a van that needed tires. Dipfuck fine, whatever, everyone has gone home. So you are gonna have to wait till I get there. Me sure. That's fine. I'll stay clocked in, then. Dipfuck aha. You finished your route, so I don't see why you would be on the clock. Me because I'm still in command of this vehicle, I have the keys, and if you want me to give it back, you are going to keep me on the clock. I had called the company hours and explained everything before I called dispatcher, and they ensured me that my time would be recorded. Dipfuck, fine, I have things to do tonight, so we gotta hurry up. Perfect. Time to screw with this guy. After giving him extremely vague directions while I enjoy a steak meal and a large beer on the clock and no fucks given anymore, he finally finds it. I go out there and see that he has brought the smallest, saddest, most not suitable for the task jack in the center. Me well get to it, you made me leave with this van, and you can change the tire. Dip fuck nah, you were driving it, and I interject. Me drivers are not allowed, but company policy to perform repairs to the van. He had yelled at me previously for doing this with the bulbs. Only dispatch, management, maintenance, and the repair shop can repair the van. So I walk away to finish my meal, while he tries to fix this flat with a jack barely able to lift the front of the vehicle and needed bricks and other items to even go high enough. In total, I wasted 4 hours of his time, cost him time to smoke up, and he missed the game that he apparently had money on. I got my meal effectively for free with the hefty overtime I got that week. And as an extra smackdown, corporate came in and fired the manager, assistant manager, and this particular dispatcher for failure to maintain the vehicles to DOT standards and for mismanaging the DSP, delivery service provider, after my lovely chat with ours during the incident. I showed them the text messages and some of the recorded audio I had taken of dispatcher being a general Dow checker. A week later, and we had a temp management comprised of corporate operations that would oversee the vans getting replaced with less shitty ones, training new management, and of course, giving training on what to do if you have a vehicle fail like that, and granting drivers some maintenance permissions. TL, doctor make me drive a van that is unfit for service? I will enjoy a hot meal, overtime, all while you have to fix the flat, and you still get fired. Edit, on mobile, so pardon the grammar and sentence structure. Edit 2, holy crap, guys. I did not expect to have so many of you take the time to read this. Thank you so much. Edit 3, I have stories about my time at Blockbuster, Walmart, HP, Auntie Anne's, Slamazon, an Italian restaurant as a delivery driver, and plenty others that I would be happy to share. Feel free to ask. Edit 4, TL, Doctor hopefully is a bit more accurate now. Also, thanks for the silver, whoever you are. Hey guys, please remember to like and subscribe, it really helps my video out in the YouTube algorithm. Students prank me. I had the last laugh. I spent about 10 years teaching high school humanities at a small private school. For my first 2 years, I didn't have a classroom, just a small office. I would bring what I needed for each class on a cart and go from room to room, depending on which teacher had a prep at any given time. This was incredibly inconvenient, and, not being the most organized of teachers to begin with, made things difficult to keep track of. There were a group of 11th grade boys who decided to make things a little more difficult for me. They were good kids, we got along well, I coached several of them on the school soccer team, but they decided that, since my office would often be empty, it was a great place to prank. It was never anything too serious, things falling over when I opened the door, or things disappearing for a day and then turning up in a different place the next day. Nothing was ever damaged, and I could never prove who it was, even though I knew. My school had mandatory final exams in each academic course. I didn't really think they were necessary, so I would generally make them pretty easy with a lot of preparation. I would give out study sheets and play review games for a couple of weeks before the test, and there was no reason the students wouldn't do well on them. I had approval of admin to do this as they weren't particularly fond of the final exam rule either. It was a school board policy. A few nights before the offending boys had their exam, I had a brainwave. I created a second exam. Gone were the multiple choice questions and obvious things from the review sheets. In their place came detailed questions about concepts that were briefly mentioned in class. Essay question after essay question. Ambiguous questions with no clear answers. Definitions of words that there was no way they knew. It took a couple of hours, but I laughed the whole time. When the test came, I had the special exams at the bottom of the pile and handed them out to each of the 4 or 5 boys. I told my vice principal what was happening and he insisted on being present. I started the timer and watched as the boys flipped over their papers. It was all I could do to keep a straight face. Eyes went wide. Heads were shaking. Panic was setting in, especially as they saw all their classmates flying through their exams. One of the boys raised their hand. Sorry, no questions during the final. You should be prepared, based on your study sheets. I'll let them go for about 5 or 10 minutes of terror before I gathered the fake tests and gave them the real ones. You don't think he's wealthy enough? Guess he'll buy a Merc. This is a pretty short story about a family friend. Dude we know owns a few businesses after building himself up over a number of years. He's had luxury cars for a number of years now, and at some point, decided it was time for a bunch of new ones. To put this man into perspective, he was a bit larger, quite tall, had a kinda dirty goatee, style wise, not literally, and always wore shorts, shirt and runners. So, one day he decided he wanted 3 new cars, one for himself, one for his wife, and one for his father. He went to the local BMW dealership, hoping to pick up a few 3 Series or something. He was wearing his usual attire. When he got there, he was ignored by salesmen and kinda looked down upon. Once he finally got one of them to talk to him, they pretty much said he couldn't afford anything there and told him to leave. So, he went off to the local Merc dealership. Ended up buying 3 Mercs in cash. He drove one of them back to the BMW dealership to show them the sale they missed out on. He also told his other friends about this, and none of them bought a BMW. Ever since then, he's had Mercedes-Benz cars. Just goes to show how treating one person wrong can lose you a lot of sales. Thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed, and watch out for more edit bot videos.